Oh, hello, hello. Welcome back to America's Attorney. You know, we don't go live often, but when we do, it's super fun. And I'm glad you're here. And I'm just kidding because I can see that there's no one here. But you're watching this a little later and you're here now, which is great. Over the last year, 15 months, I have really enjoyed watching Coffeezilla videos and understanding especially more about the crypto space through him. Although, you know, he doesn't really talk about crypto as much usually as just crypto scams, which if you're not a fan of crypto scams seem to be the crypto space. At least that's what his videos are. But he put out a video yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Was it yesterday? It was yesterday. That is fascinating. It has nothing to do with crypto. Well, they do mention crypto one. They mention an NFT one time, but that's nothing. Okay. But it's fascinating because it has some real serious legal issues and implications in it. And I wanted to cover it in today's video. And so that's what we're going to do. I wanted to go live so that you guys can ask me questions about it. I'm hoping that you are Coffeezilla fans. And if you've seen the video, great. You're going to be able to come at me with your questions just whenever you want. I'm going to pause the video while watching it to talk about the legal issues that come up for me. Now, I have watched it. This is not like a blind reaction video. I watched it and I was like, yeah, there's some stuff in here I want to cover. Particularly when we get to evidence. There's some things related to evidence that I think are fascinating. And so, yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm just about ready to get this thing started. There's no, I see we got 14 people here, but I see no comments. And so I think I'm just going to jump into it. But if you're here and you want to ask me a question, I am telling you the time is now. Let's go. Ask me questions anytime you want, but I'm going to jump right into this.
The biggest creators in the world are at the
Yeah, okay. I got my pause button here. I'm ready to run this thing. Hope y'all are ready. Let's go.
center of a scam, and I don't know if I should talk about it.
Some have been defrauded, others are associated, and most are plain embarrassed. But I don't want to get sued. I mean, what do you think I should do?
Here, have a drink. And maybe start at the beginning.
Thanks.
Welcome, Master Pink. Good to see you.
It started 2 months ago. Hello, this is Coffeezilla.
I know who you are, and I've got something for you.
Tell me more.
There's actually
All right. Well, this is for sure a lie.
a little bit of
There's
goofiness.
no
in it.
way you look that cool.
Okay, maybe I exaggerated the setting a bit, but I did get a call.
Oh, the Papa San chair.
Hello?
Nice touch.
Coffeezilla, I've got a scam for you. It's called Revolt. Huge influencers, lies, people haven't been paid.
How much are we talking?
Not sure. Rumors 5 mil, and some of the merchandise still hasn't shipped. You interested?
Yeah, can I source you?
Nah, keep me anonymous on this one.
Now, this sounds more like the coffee I know.
Yeah, you're missing the point. After getting this call and finishing my very important business, I started digging around. But the same word kept cropping up.
So you have heard of Revolt. Can I put this on the record?
No, keep it anonymous.
All right, this is great info, but how do you feel about going public?
Sorry, keep my name out of it.
Keep me anonymous, please.
Yeah, I can keep you anonymous.
Yeah, so this is a real different angle than some of his previous investigations, because if you're familiar with his work in the crypto space, you know that all of the transactions are on the blockchain. Like, they don't have to be anonymous. They're just right there and they're easy. And the other thing that I want to talk about real quick is the scale. You know, this thing starts with someone anonymously telling him, we're talking about $5 million. Well, like, look, to you and me, $5 million is a lot of money. Okay, fine. Hey, welcome, Clarissa. But compared to the scams that he normally covers, 5 million is like nothing. I mean, nothing at all. But it is real money to real people. So let's see.
Sure.
I was hitting a wall and I was getting frustrated. Little by little, though, a picture emerged. Not fully on the record, not fully off. The voices of more than a dozen anonymous calls complaining about this one merch company, Revolt, run by a guy named Ryan Piacente.
Isn't he the guy who runs the Misfits?
Yeah, the YouTuber group. And believe me, they'll be involved later. The point is, I was hearing about this merch company, Revolt, and everyone said in 2019 through 2021, it was extremely successful, working with everyone. And of course, in exchange for this success, Revolt was happy to take a cut of each of these merch drops. In fact, I obtained some of Revolt's sales numbers from 2021, showing how much only 5 of their drops made, $20 million in revenue. I mean, mind-blowing numbers.
That's bigger money.
These creators, who I've hidden for privacy, made $12 million. Revolt, for their cut, should have made $4 million.
Now that is a mystery. How do you screw up such a business making so much money?
That's what I wanted to find out. Problem was, no one would go public.
Then you have nothing, right? Rumors, innuendo, maybe. But if no one will talk...
No, that's the thing that kills me about this story. Most of the creators did talk. Employees talked. Everyone behind the scenes, they couldn't stop talking. This is why I'm struggling with this story. If it was just off the record, I'd kill it. If everyone was on the record...
It's an easy story.
Right, but it's neither. I'm in limbo.
Well, let's just get to what the accusations are then. Anonymously.
I was just getting to that. As I was saying, Revolt made huge profits, massive merch drops, but there was another side of things. Ryan Piacente had a spending problem. He took 6 private jet trips in a month, thousands of dollars every night on dinner. We have receipts for, by the way. They spent $25,000 a week to rent a mansion in LA.
Okay, I gotta drop in here and say, just to be clear, there's nothing particularly illegal or unseemly about being wasteful with your money. Like, yes, it's dumb and it's maybe not sustainable, but it's not. This is not anything close to a fraud or anything that resembles a breach, based on what he has said so far. I just want to make sure that, like, we understand. I want to talk about the legal issues, not like, is this guy good at business?
And they rented a Ferrari for $20,000 for a week. But the thing was, it wasn't really Ryan footing the bill. It was actually
Revolt.
Right. Even as this company's raking in money, hand over fist, they were spending more than they could afford, which was brought up to Ryan as a problem.
So why aren't you a millionaire?
He spends money like a
way.
Did you always spend money like an idiot?
Yeah, I've always spent money like a... I mean, the thing with money is I like to be able to provide that experience to everybody. So a lot of the money that I spend is actually on other people for the most part, because I'm just like, yeah, let's do it. Like, let's have fun.
Yikes. So they just spent it all? Is that it? Is that the scam?
No. You're getting ahead of me. Look, mind topping me off?
Sure. If it'll get you to spill the beans. So what else?
Well, the spinning part was just the start of it. At this point, Ryan's plan was described to me by a source who knew him as Creator A does a drop. Ryan would then spend a large chunk of that on private jets, Nobu, Balenciaga, and then Creator B does a drop, but Creator A still owed money. And so Ryan pays Creator A with Creator B's money. A little Ponzi-ish, if you ask me. But the key here is that this works as long as each merch drop is bigger than the last. You can keep paying for everything. But Revolt was starting to have issues. According to former...
Yeah, okay. So this is interesting to me because while he's right to say it's Ponzi-ish. It's not a Ponzi scheme, right? A Ponzi scheme is where you take money in and you promise the people that you took the money from, your investors, that you're going to give them a certain return, and the thing that you do with the money doesn't actually yield that kind of return on that investment, and you're instead pretending, you're lying to them that it does based on the new money that you take in from new customers. That is a Ponzi scheme. This is what I would call an undercapitalized business. Now, that it's not a crime, it's not even a tort or any kind of anything illegal or unlawful to be undercapitalized. But the point that Coffee has made getting up to this this part of the video is that it didn't have to be that way. There was some lavish spending that was resulting in this shortfall. It wasn't a problem with the nature of the business. It was the problem with the nature of the person running the business. But again, not illegal and not a Ponzi scheme. And there's a great comment here from John Chessie asks, what does a creator like Coffeezilla need to watch out for while creating material like that? Defamation, libel? The answer is both. Okay, so one of the things that he is very careful to do is not assert that a specific fact is true or that it happened. What he does is he platforms other people who say that it happened. He is saying, just to use his terminology, creator B, creator A, creator B, creator C. And I know he'll get into some names later. But if he says, creator A says that I paid him $5,000 and he didn't produce my sweatshirts, or creator B says he owed me $8,000 and he never paid it, Coffee is careful to not say that the facts alleged by the person, creator A and creator B are true, but instead he's letting creator A make that allegation, even through his own voice on his video, saying like creator A says $5,000 is owed, or creator B says $8,000 is owed. As long as he frames it as their allegation, then he's not liable for defamation or slander, provided that he doesn't know himself, meaning that Coffee doesn't know that the statements that they're making are false. Now, if you platform someone that you know to be making a false statement, you don't get a get out of jail free card on defamation. And if you follow the kind of larger political news, the defamation and libel lawsuits surrounding the voting machines, all the 2020 election stuff, Dominion voting machines, those are about the platform, aka Fox News or whoever, allowing other people to come on and say things that Fox News knows is false, allegedly. I mean, the case is over. I think they reached an agreement. So who knows the extent to which that was true. But as long as Coffee doesn't know that creator A is lying, he is permitted under our laws in the US to give him a platform to make his allegation. So he, again, is not vouching that it's true. He's saying this is what this person is saying. So great question, John. I appreciate it. Let's jump back in here and see what happens.
Former employees, Revolt had terrible logistics experience, which is okay when you sell 400 units, but when you sell 40,000 in one day, that's a problem. Not only that, Revolt is starting to pull in bigger and bigger talent, and these influencers are demanding bigger and bigger minimum guarantees. Ryan agrees, but things aren't like before. Some of those merch drops underperform. Now Revolt owes money not just to minimum guarantees, but they also were counting on these new merch drops to pay their older clients. So they start delaying payments.
Okay, I want to jump in and make sure we understand what he's talking about when he says delaying payments. Typically in a business like this, when you are a middleman for manufacturing, if you owe a net portion of the transaction, it's going to be on like a 30-day rolling basis. And so you're going to have a written contract between Revolt. Let's just use Mr. Beast as an example, since he had him up on the screen, and he's someone that I hope you guys know who he is, since you're currently watching YouTube. You should know who he is. He's supposed to pay in 30 days for the merch that has passed through his system. Well, if he delays that to 60 days or 90 days or 120 days, and he does that to everyone, he is increasing the amount of cash on hand that he has. And essentially, like it's like a mini Ponzi. He's able to stretch each dollar so that it stays inside his platform longer to meet his needs rather than going to the person that it belongs to. Is it a breach of contract? Depends. You got to see how those contracts are worded, but typically payment is going to be a material term It's typically net 30 days. So it would be weird if it wasn't in there. The problem is if you have an ongoing relationship with a vendor like this and they're supposed to pay you every 30 days, and let's say they just bump it up to 45 or 60 days without your consent, yeah, you're going to write them a nasty letter or get on the phone with them, have your lawyer write them a letter. That's fine. But you're not going to cancel the agreement with them if you're hoping to make, a couple $1 million and it's just a few days late. You're not going to cancel. That's not going to be a material enough breach. Normally, not when you're in the middle of a campaign like that.
Here we go.
That's right. For the first time, creators, they start actually posting about their experiences. Not off the record, publicly.
Honestly, it's actually a really nice t-shirt, like in like a chill way.
Thank you. We're not going to talk about the company I made it with because they stole everything from me.
Okay, so I want to go back to John's question, which, by the way, you guys are welcome to ask me questions at any time. Love to interact with you about this video together. But Tubbo here, Tubbo is saying a factually direct statement. They stole from me, not like I don't trust them or I won't do business with them, which is more a statement about his own interior state of mind. But they stole from me. If that is not true, that is a tortious statement. That's a defamatory statement. Now, for reasons we'll get into in a few minutes on the back end of Coffee's video, I think we're at the point where you can say whatever bad stuff you want about Revolt, and they're not going to have a good claim against you. Doesn't mean they won't have a claim, but they won't have a good claim for a reason we'll get into in a little bit.
So, okay, like I get they're a bad company. Can you put me on their send list, please? Just like for everyone. I'll take all their merch.
Dude, I'm not sure anyone will ever make merch with them again after recently.
It was finally happening. Big creators.
Okay, there you go. They're just the worst. That is a statement of opinion. That's not potentially defamatory. They blatantly lie. That's not a statement of opinion. That's a potentially defamatory statement if it's not true. Now, not by Coffee for putting in this video, and certainly not by me for hosting Coffee's video, but by the hunk boy if he knows it to be true. It's the hunk boy is a buddy of mine, I'm sure. I don't know.
Creators had started to talk about Revolt. Carl Jacobs said they're the worst people ever that just blatantly lie. Smosh founder Anthony Padilla says Revolt still hasn't paid me. It's been months. Now,
okay, so to say they still haven't paid me, it's been months, that is a statement of fact that can either be true or false. And therefore, if it is inaccurate, it's potentially defamatory.
I should say, for the record, that he eventually got his issue resolved. But underneath his post, another creator posted, Niachu, saying they haven't paid me either. Now, I called her, and for the first time in this case, I got a breakthrough.
I'm Nikki Niachu. I'm a Twitch streamer, and Revolt owes me $300,000.
That's so hard to hear. That's so unbelievable.
And it wasn't just her not getting paid. She explained that also people who ordered from her, some of them didn't even get their order.
After everything was shipped, first of all, a lot of people in Europe didn't get their merch. And I messaged them about it, and they said, yeah, we'll look into it. Never did. A lot of my friends who bought merch never received it.
To this date,
yes,
these orders, which were in 2022,
yes,
have not been sent out or received.
All right, I'm ready to sue. All right, so what we've got here is we've got clearly a breach of contract. This isn't about delaying payment. This isn't even about errors like the quality not being there or people getting the wrong items. If a line of merch has been dropped, the sales have been made, and the money is supposed to pass through Revolt to Nikki, and she doesn't get it, that's a breach of contract. So here are the elements of a breach of contract. You got to have an offer, such as, I will run this merch drop for you, and I'll pay you 20% of the profit or 80% of the profit, let's say. Have an acceptance where Nikki says, yeah, I'll do that. And you, so we covered offer, acceptance. Ooh, oh my word, I'm losing my mind. And consideration. So it's got to be for some money. And we've got all those things. And she is owed $300,000. Now, you might be asking yourself, Josh, wait, hold on. If you're saying Josh, you're asking me that. You're not asking yourself that. You might be thinking to yourself, Josh, why don't you reach out to Nikki and say, hey, I'll sue. I want to take on Revolt. Because, I mean, I do like to sue people. I mean, historically, I've like actually sued thousands of people. I don't want to sue Revolt at all. And I'll tell you why. Because if everything that Coffee is saying in the video is true or even somewhat accurate, you're going to sue them and you're going to get a judgment. Oh, yeah. Okay. This hurts a little bit. You win. Yes, if you're out there and your name is Josh, then you could be confused because you might think you're talking to me or you could be talking to yourself. But in any event, thanks for pointing that out. I don't file lawsuits so that I can get a judgment. Okay? I file a lawsuit so I can get money for my client. I don't have reason to believe that there's a pot of gold at the end of the Revolt rainbow. If they're Ponziing their way through these merch drops just to operate their business, which, as we know, they're like profligate spenders according to the video content. But if that's what they're doing, there's no point in suing them. And even if you could do a legal technique called piercing the corporate veil, which is where, so let's say Nikki has a contract with Revolt, which she does. And even if it's just a series of email exchanges, that collection of emails can act as a contract in the eyes of the law. But if you have that contract and you're supposed to get a certain amount of money, if there's not a hope of collecting the money from the corporation and you say, okay, well, I want to get it from the people, then you have this legal concept called piercing the corporate veil, where you're like, well, I want to sue Ryan Piacente personally for this. That's not undoable in certain circumstances. You can pierce the corporate veil. But as Michael apparently agrees with me, there's no money left. There's not. So even if you pierce the corporate veil, and the way you do this is you show that either the corporate structure was a fraud, and P.S. to those of you running small corporations who are like buying food, alcohol, drugs, sports cars, mansions, etc. for the business, you might be intermingling your business finances with your personal finances in such a way that a plaintiff who sues you could pierce the corporate veil. Again, there's not going to be any money left. Have fun piercing. Now, would a lawyer refuse to take this case? Not necessarily. What they would say is, oh, Nikki, we'll sue them, but you got to pay me up front. And that is a bad set of circumstances for Nikki because she's committing the sin of throwing good money after bad. So you get ripped off, and then a lawyer says, oh, pay me 50 grand or 20 grand or whatever it is. You're never going to, I mean, the reason the lawyer wants the money up front is they don't believe that they're going to be able to collect over time. So, Bonnie, I like your question. We're not to the point yet where there are going to be criminal penalties. But if we're going to keep watching the video, we are definitely going to get to what I think is a basis for having a prosecutor get involved, criminally, law enforcement. However, just to be perfectly clear, that ain't going to put any money in Nikki's pocket or anyone else who got ripped off. And we'll get into that when the time comes. But that is a great question. And yeah, he's kind of doing SBF, hanging out in the Bahamas. I don't know, but if that's true, then now he's spending more money every day. It's going to be even harder to collect.
Yes.
Now, as bad as that sounds, as I looked closer, I realized this was common, really common. Delays, missing orders. Sometimes the order would just be wrong, like when they sent out a pin collection but forgot the pins. Now, because of this, an insider at Revolt told me that in December of 21, they had over 1,000 customer support tickets open for quality issues and items not being shipped.
Oh,
and that
dude.
gets us to the good part.
And this is an ad.
Where common sense
You
takes a
cannot
backseat
skip this,
and
even though
physics
it
is
looks
just
like
a suggestion. Comes a
No, you
movie that
can't. It's a
punches
fake
logic
ad.
in the face.
Are you ready for best
Oh, you
pizza
can
of
skip
life?
forward, but I don't have
Bring
that
friends
button
down to
on my
Pepperoni Hug
controller.
Spot.
Yeah.
Our chefs make pizza with heart and special touch.
Tired of watching low effort content? Then come on down to patreon.com/Coffeezilla. If you support high effort investigations, you also get all these perks. But wait, there's more. Imagine your name up in lights. It's a $50,000 value. And it also helps us make things, which is good too.
Terms and conditions apply. Please read fine print for more details.
All right, we made it through that. This is a great question from December. Would it be possible to claim assets on behalf of the client to recoup the losses of the creators as a whole, say as in a class action? The answer is maybe, but not until after you've already won the case. So the problem with suing undercapitalized profligate spenders is by the time the justice system slowly turns its wheels, and really, I mean, it's way slower than what I just said. Like let's say you sue them in federal court. The average, I think right now, the average case is open in federal court nationwide, civilly, I think 22 months. Someone can check me on that, not swearing by it, but it's a long time. You sue an undercapitalized profligate spender living overseas. Well, Bahamas, if that's where he is, it's not really overseas. It's like over a little bit of the ocean. More like, well, it's like 45 minutes from Miami, I think. I don't know. I don't get to go there. But you can't seize those assets until after you have a judgment. And doesn't mean I wouldn't love to fly to the Bahamas and try to seize the assets. And if you hired me as a lawyer, I would say, yeah, let's go. But like, that ain't how it works. So it's a nice thought. If you got a judgment and there were assets, yeah, you could do it. But I mean, this is like an assetless business. If you think about it, they don't own the stock, like, the merch, right? I mean, this is not merch. It's just a shirt that I wear. But they don't own that. They don't own the factories where it's made. It's an assetless business. They're just acting as a middleman. They don't even own the ships that the material gets from China to the U.S. on. So no, bad.
Okay, where were we? Can I get another drink?
Man,
actually?
coffee is
I'll pour you
hammering the
another
drinks in this video.
Thanks.
All I've got.
Remember
is
that
water.
insider document I showed you earlier?
Yeah, made me want to sell merch.
What I didn't tell you is that it was all part of a pitch deck for Mr. Beast. See, Ryan Piacente had met Jimmy, and he wanted to convince him to work with Revolt. So he creates this pitch deck. You've seen the other creator sales numbers, but there were also ideas for Mr. Beast in there, like NFTs you could redeem for merch. And there were also...
Okay, I had to interrupt them because this screen is super important. I want you guys to see it because this is kind of the crux of the scam here. Check this out. Again, this is not like a profit and loss statement from a specific drop. This is a projection. So what a pitch deck is when you want to do a business deal with someone, you'll put together a series of slides that you'll show them either on your computer or on a projection screen, basically walking them through what it is that you want to do together. And so according to whichever insider gave him this screen or this entire pitch deck, and believe me, that was not a legal thing for the insider to do. I mean, a pitch deck is the intellectual property of Revolt. They can't share it like they have. It's not okay. I mean, like what I mean is, if Revolt sued them for disclosure, wrongful disclosure of this intellectual property, Revolt would win. But look, we have it. It's fascinating. I'm going to talk about it. Okay, let's look at these numbers right here. I wish I had a pointer, but I can't point. I can't even point the right direction. Oh, look at this. Okay, total revenue. They're saying like, we'll do this drop and 7.75 million is the amount that will come in. Fine. So production cost, this is like what we will have to pay for the for making it and shipping / delivering it. It's basically 1/3 of the the sale price. So if it's a $60 sweatshirt, they're going to be able to get it into the customer's hands for $20. That's what they're saying. And then there is a line called fees, 4%. This is fascinating because they are Revolt here is just, I'm not, when I say like scraping 4% off the top, I don't mean illegally. I mean, because they're putting it right there. They're saying, hey, the very first thing we're going to do is say we get a 4% fee, 4% of the gross. And that's not a split of profit. That is a cost of production. Okay. And then you go over to the right side of the screen and you were saying there's going to be $5.2 basically $1 million in profit. And then you see it's on an 80-20 split, where in this instance, Mr. Beast is supposed to get 4.1 million and Revolt's supposed to get 1 million, which if you think about deployment of capital, this is an absolutely fascinating business. And if this guy, Ryan Piacente, had the relationships in order to get the deals done like this, the fact that he couldn't run a profitable business is the most absurd thing I've ever seen, because he has no capex. He doesn't have a capital outlay to make this happen. He's got some operating expenses that are minor. Someone else is producing. It's so simple, and it's a total failure. So, I mean, according to the video, I don't want to defame anybody. Wait, why am I laughing like that? Anyways, I missed a couple comments here. Greetings from Rio de Janeiro. Hey, right back at you. The tiny little fishing village of Rio de Janeiro only has like 20 people or 20 million people in it, maybe 24. I don't know. Oh yeah, Boa, I know you weren't saying that he's actually doing SBF type stuff, just has a similar vibe. I get it. Yeah, okay. So thanks for taking disagreeing stance with me on the capex. The Lambos don't pay for themselves. That's right. I'm saying necessary expenditures. He doesn't have necessary capex. He's just doing it for fun. Wow. Okay, good point. Let's get back into
some financial projections. On their first drop together, Revolt claimed Mr. Beast would make $4 million. Across 3 years, $50 million in annual profit.
There's no way.
That's what I thought. I thought maybe the team was delusional enough to think it was possible, though. So I asked. According to insiders at the company, they actually met Jimmy and started discussing minimum guarantees and how Revolt would 10x his merch business over the next 2 years. But check this out. This being impossible was openly discussed by the Revolt team.
Okay, so we got to pause it there because this is kind of a big deal. If you go into a contract negotiation, there is something that's allowed in the law called puffery, right? Where you promise that things are going to be great. You say, I'm going to do this and it's all going to be awesome. And this is going to be the best merch drop you've ever had. Like, you know, it's about the future. No one can know the future, right? So when you're talking with someone in a contract negotiation and they're talking to you about the future, it's puffery. They can't know. It's not an actionable thing. So it is fine for them to kind of promise more than they can deliver. But this statement right here, if this is true, that this being impossible was openly discussed by the Revolt team. Okay, so that's a fraud. That's fraud in the inducement. They knew the thing that they were like promising them was not correct, and that is not okay. You can't do business that way. Not in the United States. Hey, Trick-ution. You put lawyer live streams on at 1.5 speed. Hey, I'm just trying to get through this in a way that doesn't bore you. But I would love to know, what lawyers do you watch who stream? Do you watch Emily Baker, or do you watch Peter Tragos, or both, or Robert Gouveia? I'm just curious. If you don't want to tell me, that's fine. But I am curious. I'd like to know. But I'm going to jump right back into this. Oh, that's not the button to get into it.
Oh no, they knew?
Yeah. And this is where things go from bad to worse. So Mr. Beast gets this minimum guarantee deal to do his 100 million subscriber collection with Revolt, right? But Revolt doesn't sell like they claimed they would. It does revenue way below expected, meaning Revolt didn't hit their minimum guarantee.
All right, let's get real quick into the minimum guarantee feature, because this wasn't on the card that he put up before. But if they make this projection and they're saying, hey, Mr. Beast, you know, these are the projections and you could make $4.1 million, that's not a guarantee. But in order to get some of these bigger creators to be willing to do the deal, they're going to promise them, let's say, a third of that. So they're going to say, hey, we'll promise you 1.5 million, like no matter what. So a minimum guarantee is only worth it if the party to the contract here at Revolt has the assets to make good on it, right? I mean, if they don't have the money, the guarantee is worthless. Now, there are some ways around that, in that if they're being honest and upfront, they can take their 20% of the profit and shove it back over to the creator side of the table to kind of reach towards the minimum guarantee. But ultimately, you're taking their word for it. So if I am a lawyer advising a creator who's going to enter into a deal like this, I'm going to take a long, hard look at that minimum guarantee, and I'm going to say, who is guaranteeing it? Because if it's just this company that's acting as a middleman, that doesn't do a lot for me. You could compel them, in order to do a deal with you, to do one of a couple things to put some meat on the bones of this guarantee. Number one is put a personal guarantee on it. So make Ryan Piacente personally promise that this much money, whatever the number is going to be coming my way. That's fine. But again, if he doesn't have that money, you're not going to get it from him. The other thing that you can do is that you can compel them to go basically buy an insurance policy, so that if they don't make good on it, you can get paid. Now, the problem with that is the insurance company is going to want to look at, they're not going to want to look, they are going to definitely look at the finances of Revolt, and they're going to be like, oh, no way. This is the most like profligate, wasteful, disorganized business. We're not underwriting this deal. And lastly, the third way you could do it, which, I mean, again, given the fact that they're undercapitalized, is you could say, hey, look, you know what? We like this idea of a minimum guarantee. Prepay it. Give it to us right now. Okay? Which means that Revolt's going to have to take their financial records, go to a bank, and basically get a loan to cover the guarantee. That is the only that's the only way that you can actually be sure that promise, that guarantee, is going to be good. But I got to get over to some comments here. December says, what gets me about this concept, while 10x is obviously impossible, a more realistic amount depending on the quality, like, isn't 2x so bad? Profit is profit, so why puff so heavily? Well, the answer is there's not a bigger platform than Mr. Beast. So all of these companies are making pitches like this to him, to his team, all the time. Literally, his business manager, I think his name is Ryan. I don't know. I know someone who knows him, but I can't remember his name. But anyways, they have to take meetings like this non-stop. They want to do business with the best person they can. So someone's promised them a lot. If other creators have had good experiences, then so be it. That's great. And then, isn't this Icarus? This is just Icarus, right? You fly too close to the sun and bad things happen. You don't need to 10x your merch sales in 2 years if you have already got a healthy merch selling business. But I mean, there are ways to do it in terms of the frequency of the drop. It's not just about the quality, right? It can be the pricing, it can be the frequency, etc. And then, Boa, I really wanted to get to your question. What does a pinky promise change? it changes everything. You know that. All right. Let's see here. Like the concept works for smaller YouTubers or brands that are not that famous, but why would Mr. Beast need it? Hey, you know, he's trying to change the world. Why do you need more money? Right? You know, Bonnie, you say pinky promises should be included with every contract. No, I totally disagree. Once you start using a pinky promise for every contract you enter into, they're no longer special. A pinky promise, as every lawyer knows, and honestly, every non-lawyer, is for a special occasion. You shouldn't have to pinky promise. You know, your word should be your word. Pinky promise, that's special. Hey, I don't do a lot of lives. And so this is a special time for me. I think have I done 3 others or 2 others? I've done 3 others. This is my 4th ever live. And so yeah, I'm so glad to be here. I don't know how often I'll do them, but it's fun. I'm glad. I really love the comments. I love getting to interact with you. So anyways, let's get back into the video.
So what do they do?
This is where things dip into fraud, right? Our insider says, I assume this is when they decided to increase cost of goods, meaning Revolt charged Mr. Beast more for every item of clothing than he was actually paying for at the factory.
Oh, no.
That's a pretty huge accusation.
Yes, it is.
Where's the evidence?
My question exactly. I got sent this.
What exactly am I looking at here?
Yeah. What I just sent you is the pricing sheet from the Chinese factory, top left. You can see the invoice item says RVLT, meaning Revolt. MRB,
Mr. Beast.
There's unit order sizes and prices.
Here we go.
And what are these ink marks?
That's where changes were made. See,
okay, so this is fascinating. And I'll let him play this out, and I'm not going to ruin it. But this cost of goods increase, if this is true, which, I mean, obviously, anyone can write anything on a paper invoice. It doesn't make it false or anything. But like, if this is it, this is the most egregious breach of contract. This is wild. Okay, let's play a little bit more because we got some civil stuff here. And as someone asked earlier, maybe it was December, I can't remember. We got some criminal stuff here.
Somebody wrote down next to the factory prices, new prices, higher prices.
Did you talk to Mr. Beast about this?
Well, nobody would talk on the record, but I confirmed that Revolt charged higher prices to their team, like it says in ink. Revolt charged more per item than they were actually paying the Chinese factories, according to their own insiders.
Who else did this happen?
Okay, before we go on to who else it might have happened to, I want to get into what makes this illegal and how is it illegal. But I got to put Trey Wilson's question up there. When is the free hoodie giveaway? These are looking good. Hey, just, you know, come on by the office sometime. You work here, good things happen to you. You work remotely, you know. For all I know, you're shirtless at home, right? Don't know, don't want to know. But I'm not. Okay, so here's what we got. If you go back to that slide where he's saying, I project 7.7 million of revenue, you get, you know, the cost to make it is like 2.2. It's basically like 1/3 of it, and then you got 2/3 as profit. You know, he's already being upfront, Ryan, according to Coffee, who is really just quoting other people. I'm not saying this. He's already telling him, hey, I'm taking 20% of the profit at the end. We know this. Okay. Then he's real upfront and he says, hey, I'm taking a 4% fee off the top before there's profit. Okay. But this increasing the cost of goods is a third leg. This is a third revenue stream. And this is a breach. This is, it's a breach of contract. And it is a violation known as the duty. It's a violation of the duty of good faith and fair dealing. Okay. In every contract situation, both parties are required to act with good faith and fair dealing, meaning no scamming, no scheming, no trying to get one over on people. Okay. This is just totally illegal. It is also a fraud. It's not just a breach because you are making a knowing material misrepresentation. It's not just a breach, it's a fraud. Now, for breach of contract, the amount of damages that you're owed is just the delta between the real number and the fake number. So if they marked it up $2.50 a hoodie, those are your damages. Damages is like the money that you can recover if you sue. But once it's fraud, you can get punitive damages. So you might be able to get a jury to get upset about it. And instead of giving $2.50 a hoodie, they're like, no. We're giving $10 a hoodie. We're going to teach you a lesson. Okay. So if maybe you get scammed out of $400,000, but you can end up with like a $2 million or $3 million or $4 million judgment. Now, if you follow legal news at all, you know that sometimes juries get inflamed and they award punitive damages above the level that a court, a judge kind of sitting over and above them says is good. In fact, I have a video coming out tomorrow where the plaintiff got $28 billion awarded to her and by the jury. And then the judge came in after the fact and reduced it by 999 thousandths, reduce it from 28 billion to 28 million. Don't want to focus too much on tomorrow's video, but it does come out at 2:00 Central Time if you're interested. You should subscribe if you're not subscribed. Okay, so let me get back into the comments. No. Okay, so listen to this. It's a breach of contract because it's a breach of the duty of good faith and fair dealing. It's a fraud, get punitive damages. But as soon as you use email, fax, paper mail, text messaging, any sort of electronic or paper communication. Well, hold on. Let me bifurcate the mail. It's mail fraud. It is the type of thing that gets the feds exercised. If you doctor that invoice and then email it, you are committing wire fraud. And I mean, this is like felony central. And the feds love this charge because it is so easy to get a conviction because it's just like point A, point B, point C, go to jail. Now, that's great. It's good for us as a society. We want to get these people locked up. And I'm not like sad for Mr. Beast. He's obviously making a lot of money, but I'm thinking about these smaller creators like Nikki Nihachu or whatever her last name was. She's owed $300,000, assuming that's true. Doesn't do her a bit of good for Ryan or anyone else in that organization to go to prison. Not only is that not going to help her get the money, it's going to make it impossible for her to get the money. Now, you don't go to jail for owing people money. We don't do debtor's prison in the U.S. except under very, very, very rare circumstances and also child support. If you get behind on child support or spousal support, you can go to jail for that. But those are not normal debts. If this is just a breach of contract or even a fraud, you're not going to go to jail for not paying. In fact, you can just file a bankruptcy and get out of the breach of contract debt. However, the bankruptcy, generally speaking, is not going to work to get out of the fraud because bankruptcy doesn't work on intentional debts. And fraud is an intentional tort, whereas a breach of contract, typically, they're going to be able to make the argument that it was not intentional. Although, I mean, you're getting all the money anyways because, I mean, you're surviving bankruptcy as to every dollar, but you're never going to get the money because bankrupt and like for every other reason that we talked about at the beginning of the video. So let's jump back. Ooh, hold on. I got some comments I got to get to here. In terms of Mr. Beast, it throws me off because the number of alternatives for someone. Yeah. There are a lot of options. And one thing you might do if you find yourself in that situation where you have 200 million subscribers, and I hope that you do find yourself in that situation, December, is, don't put all your eggs in one basket. You do, you say, I'm going to do a drop. I'm going to do a merch drop with 3 different companies and do them in successive order. Basically ABC test it or AB test it and see who gives you the best results, who you want to do business with. But I mean, this is a business strategy thing. Fun fact, if you receive free merchandise to distribute, you still have to pay custom based on the value. Oh, Thank you. I did not know that. I am not a customs lawyer, but I am accustomed to being a lawyer and making really stupid dad jokes like that. You know, puns that people hate. All right, let's see. Oh, listen to this. I once distributed merch for DuckDuckGo. Boss send 1,000 t-shirts. I had to pay a lot to customs. Yeah. So there are expenditures along the way. That's fair. Let's see here. Did they really add $350 to all unit prices? Are they? We don't know if they actually added this money or not. That's like kind of the crux of the video. Percy Pringles, no. You can never pass the bar exam by watching my videos. I'm keeping key information out every time so that you have to watch more videos. That's how I work. I'm kidding. You could probably pass the bar without it. I heard that ChatGPT passed the bar exam recently. ChatGPT is not subscribed to my channel, I don't think. Let's see here. Just want to say hi to Kat Doral. Right back at you. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. Hey, listen. If you have a big platform like that, you can do a lot of good. Okay, let's get out of the comments for just a second and back into the video.
That's the thing. We don't know. I asked around, and the closest I got was an answer from a former employee. This person claims right as I was exiting the business, he started talking about that. The production manager said she could get the factories to write whatever she wanted on invoices. So it's definitely possible this happened more. It's hard to say. What I do know is when the money ran out, it all fell apart.
What do you mean?
Well, the merch business has a lot of middlemen. People who create the shirts warehouses, store it, fulfillment centers. The thing is, Ryan was running out of money for all of it. What is this?
Yeah, so
Misfits
I
merch
don't-
company going
there's
under.
not a lot of legal stuff in the
Earlier
next
this
couple
year, the
minutes
Salvation Army
to
Park Memphis
react to
received
because
a donation of
it's-
100 plus clothing items from Revolt
it's not
Factory, the
illegal
merch
for them to
company.
take merchandise
This
that
ranges
hasn't
from
moved
books
and
that have been
donated or to
raised to
sell stuff
swagger
on
shoulders
eBay.
and
I mean,
other
maybe
scuffed
it's a
merch
breach
with
of
everything
contract,
coming out about the
but like
Misfits quietly shutting
the
down.
real
It makes
issue
sense
is
that they were
that
selling
the
and
business
donating
is
old
failing.
stock.
I get it.
They
I
donated
were
Basically, from what I heard, the storage
editing
fees
this
weren't paid
video
on
for
time to the
Coffee,
fulfillment center, so they
I would probably
donated
tell them
people's
to take
clothing to get rid of it. So not only are
least
people
from
not
a
getting their
lawyer's
merch on time, some of it is literally randomly sitting on eBay because Revolt didn't pay their bills on time.
I assume.
Hey, do you see that down there? It says, according to a former Revolt client. So that's a disclaimer. That's something that Coffee has put into the video in order to not commit defamation.
You reached out to Ryan Piacente about all this, though, right?
Yeah, multiple times. And we might have talked, but he ghosted me when the next wave of accusations came.
Then I think it's time to go public about this. Wait, did you say there's more accusations?
I mean, the thing with money is I like to be able to provide that experience to everybody. So a lot of the money that I spend is actually on other people for the most part, because I'm just like, yeah, let's do it. Like, let's have fun.
You're a psychopath. Actually, or maybe a sociopath, whatever the difference is.
Operational
You
sociopath.
have, that is a character you have, though.
Welcome back to the $10 million studio. I was investigating what I thought was a case of financial fraud, but what happened next made it also a case of YouTube's own version of Harvey Weinstein. And I don't mean to say that to exaggerate the severity of the accusations you're about to hear. I do say it to convey the seriousness, similarities, and signal that the following is disturbing. Now, if that sounds a little too graphic, I understand if you need to click off the video. We normally don't cover these types of allegations. However, I felt that given we found this halfway through the investigation, we couldn't ignore it. See, it all started last year when there was a serious allegation about Ryan Piacente being a predator. It was made by an insider at The Misfits, the YouTubers that Ryan managed, and this guy went by Packet. These allegations range from being coerced into inappropriate acts, witnessing Ryan perv on his employees in the shower, break into clients' phones to search for private photos, take advantage of men who he has given way too much alcohol and drugs, and a lot more. Now, when this accusation first came out, and at the start of me investigating, there wasn't much in the way of proof. The only thing verifiable was that Ryan encouraged others to get trashed, which we know because the misfits themselves talked about it.
So funny compared to like now when that's just the norm. Like people get up all the time.
Yeah.
No, he's just the one encouraging everyone else to.
Yeah.
Now, besides this piece of evidence, there wasn't much else in the way of corroborating evidence until October, when 2 more stories came out that had very similar stories to the original.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right here and say that Coffeezilla is a genius. He's a super smart guy. He and I have a very different understanding of what corroboration is. He is talking about it journalistically, and as a lawyer, he and I are going to just completely part ways on what it means that there's a proliferation of people making similar accusations. Hey, it's late. I'm having trouble talking. It's not going to be used in court the way that is being used in Coffee's video. Let's play the video for a second, and then we're going to talk about Rule of Evidence 404 and the exceptions. So, and then that's like that's actually the main thing I want to get into in the rest of this video.
And I knew we had to take them very seriously. In one story, a guy who was between 18 and 19 was told by Ryan, quote, he saw potential in me before being assaulted in the shower. The other guy was in their early 20s and tells a story of how he was invited to a party with the Misfits, a YouTuber group he liked. But in order to get in the house, he was forced to inhale a substance as a condition of entry. Later, extremely intoxicated, he was also assaulted by Ryan Piacente in the shower. Now, let me remind you that these all are allegations. But let me also tell you that 4 other people have come forward who know Ryan and corroborated his character. One person says, one day I'll tell my Ryan P story, but for now I'll just say this. This rabbit hole goes deep. This person has been abusing his power and money for years. The trail of victims that follow this man is staggering. Another says, I've known Ryan since we were 16. He was always a weird, pervy dude from the start.
Okay, this is a good place to pause it for me because it's now time that we talk about Rule of Evidence 404. I'm going to pull it up here. I can't put it on the screen, but I'm going to put it on my screen and read it to you, okay? When Coffee talks about corroboration, he's saying like A, B, C, and D are all making similar accusations. Therefore, they're more likely to be true. And the legal system could not disagree more strenuously. Listen to this. This is Rule 404A. This is character evidence. Evidence of a person's character or character trait, like repeatedly assaulting people, is not admissible to prove that on a particular occasion the person acted in accordance with the character or trait. Meaning, if you get charged with assaulting person A, you can't go to trial and hear testimony from person B or C saying the same thing happened to me, or he did this to me, or yeah, we all thought he was this kind of a guy, like his high school classmate or whatever thought he was weird. That is the particular type of evidence that will never be able to be used in court to prove actions in conformity with the character or trait. So what Coffee calls corroboration, from a journalistic standpoint, he's 100% correct, okay? But from evidence, going into court and proving these allegations, not going to happen. With an asterisk, because there's an exception to this rule, which is kind of crazy, and depending on the specific facts of a case and the rulings of a judge, can kind of gut the prohibition. Listen to this. The evidence, the same evidence, right? Assault B, assault C, assault D. The evidence may be admissible for another purpose. So not to prove that it happened to person A, but proving motive, opportunity, intent, preparation, plan, knowledge, identity, absence of mistake, or lack of accident. Well, that's basically everything. So you can't use the evidence of other assaults to prove that this is like a bad guy who always does that, but you can use the evidence to prove motive or intent or plan, like, oh, this is how he carries it out. He has you over and, you know, the same steps are followed. So while there's this rule of evidence that specifically says you don't corroborate in this way, it has an asterisk, and a lot of that evidence can get in. And that's why if you followed any of these big stories about assault that are in the news, you'll have multiple people testify about their experience with a particular criminal defendant. There is a lot left in this video, but I don't see legal issues in it. This corroboration issue is the crux of it. And I know I saw some comments about people saying, there's so many accusers, they have all this power and all their allegations sound similar. I don't think that's a reason to disbelieve them. I think it's more of a reason to believe them. And I also think that it is super, super common for people who have been victims of a personal, intimate attack like that to not go public. And so it doesn't bother me at all if people wait or don't do it or anything else. I got no problem with that whatsoever. There's a couple. Yes. Oh, hey, check this out. Getty, Germany says, yeah, so many Law and Order episodes about that problem. I totally agree. Looks like my camera is out. No, I'm back. But listen, you guys have been great. This is probably the most fun I've ever had. Oh yeah, thank you. It is internal temp. You're correct. Hey, this is the most fun I've ever had on a stream. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. I love you guys. It's a pleasure to talk with you. And Bonnie, you are correct. I am in the Central Time Zone. Bye-bye. Oh, I got to end it. End stream. End it.